Good evening. Welcome to the Ann Arbor District Library. My name is Emily. Thank you so much for coming out. Just a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, please take a moment to silence your devices. If you are looking for a restroom, they are directly behind you across the walkway there. As you have noticed, we have these limited edition risograph prints that Aaron designed for this event, and we printed in-house with our risograph machine. So we've got 2 designs, so if you haven't grabbed one of those by the end of the event, we will have them available for you. So we are being recorded and live streamed this evening. There's a lot of folks who are tuning in. So when we get to the Q&A portion of the talk, I will be running around with a mic so you can speak into the mic so people who are listening on the live stream can hear what is being asked. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Aaron.
All right. Thank you, Emily. All right. First of all, thank you to everybody to bring me here and allow me to come here. Second time in the big room. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who has ravaged the merch table. That's always improbable and so cool. And just thank you so much. Because you should see my mom and I later on going door to door in Ypsilanti. I'm in the car while she has to run up the stairs, knocking on the doors. So we won't have to do that tonight, Mom. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is sort of my latest talk. I'm a little rusty because I haven't been going on the road as much. The last big one I did was Adobe Max back in my 13th running back in October in Miami. And then after that, we built the new website and finished that up. And then we sold all the merch in December. And then January, feeling a little poopy after the election, I just kind of chilled out for the last month. And now we're slowly getting back on the road. So if I'm a little crusty, my apologies. Let's just get it going, okay? Howdy, everybody. My name is Aaron James Draplin. I'm a graphic designer. I live in Portland, Oregon, coming to you from Portland, Oregon. I am 51 years old. Uh-oh, pretty weird. Been growing things. I don't know what that means, but 51 years old. I've been wrestling with some big, hairy questions. Okay, now, I can't keep up the pace, More likes and clicks and dopamine hits. just why? The pressure system to keep this going bigger and bigger. I was lucky to have a big old honking Instagram. And then you try to advertise with it, and you end up spending a bunch of money, and just nothing moves. It's just a weird, kind of improbable thing, right? So flimsy-ass skits, the reels, the kids where how was this? And all that shit, just painful. But it works. But I can't get myself to do that. More loot, more taxes. Bigger and bigger. Why is everyone measuring who's got the most? It's an American thing. I understand it's in graphic design, but it's wearing me out. And, I'm not even going to start with this stuff. By the way, we are in a literally free zone tonight. So use the word right, okay? Not, every 7 words to these 22-year-olds, okay? Sorry, a little boomery. I know. Emails about emails, and then something cut off down there. The hamster wheel, the hamster wheel of life, the hamster wheel of not expecting this weird run that I've had. But how do you keep that going? And the answer is, I don't know. So I've just been slowing down because I don't want to keep chasing this, right? That was fun for a long time. So what we're calling this is an update from the front lines of Cutthroat contemporary graphic design and other lies, fibs, and perjuries. Okay, so that's just the general update of what we're doing. Or slowing down, downshifting, and exit ramps from one hell of a run in graphic design. And what does that look like and what does that mean, all right? So let's just get right into it. So, more drawing. My field notes are in my bag, but more accidents. Because when I'm calculated and I'm having to get these projects done and the stuff out the door, I love it. But there's something about drawing that is just weird. And in my little field notes, I have been formulating my entire existence on these pages, making logos, making lists, taking notes, listening to the clients, working things out, all in that little 3x5 by 5.5 or 7 by 5.5. When it's, I like the little guys. But you kind of forget these things. And so I'll sit and draw Lee, and there she is, she's just trying to eat her soup, and I'll just murder her, and just, poor girl, and then just kind of get the jowls wrong maybe or something, and then I just try to get her right, when we're sitting there having a coffee, and just allow my hand to screw up. And remember that feeling, right? But my nephew Oliver, who's now 14, trying to get that perfect sprinkle of malaise and cringe and sus and angst, and it's all an act. He's got a 3.96 or something in his 9th grade year, so it's an act. But I got to get him right and get the right little, he mumbles and shit, okay. And there he is, giving his nice pimply finger to his uncle in the backyard shop. I held him the day he was born. Almost stepped in a bowl of afterbirth. That's true. Oh, Jesus Christ, So here's my buddy James Spears, and we love to talk about sovereign citizens. We have any of those here tonight? They're not traveling. They're transporting schedule. You know what I'm talking about. They get the windows broken. I love that shit, man. But we laugh about this shit, and I sit and draw him while he was out in Portland. James Spears, number 32, pride of Gibbs, Tennessee. But I've been drawing more and getting weird, and then applying some of those little weird things to, like, designing your backyard shop. So, this started with a sketch. And, how do you design your existence, really? Because it's not just graphic design and logos and things. This place was designed. My backyard shop, that's my home, bought it in 2004. You have to go to the city. And then the city says you can do this or you can't do this and all the permits and things and stuff. But that's designed just as much, they painted it in a day. We spared no expense. When you connect the shop to the house, 10-step commute, we hired nothing but the best. Look at this guy. You really got to get in there, but, nothing but the best. To just do that last press of the DDC, old Nubs there, whatever the hell he was going by that, I don't know, but I got to realize my record wall. No Maroon 5 on that shit, nothing, okay? For everyone listening online, no, okay? So, got to make a record wall with Baltic birch, and that is 3 sheets of Baltic birch cut efficiently, 1 cut 5x10s, right? So, to think that through, that was all designed in Illustrator, with sketches, and then into Illustrator, given to my guys, and they would figure out the cuts. This is what's in my backyard. This was designed, right? So this is where I work, and that's my shop, and it's built to my spec, and that was such a fun thing to do, and I'm so thankful to be back there. So we have some action shots. Meanwhile, this is what it looks like back there. And there's going to put another record on the record player, a bit of a plunger situation upstairs in the shitter, and just my phone blowing up, a meeting about a meeting or an email about an email. You know what I'm talking about. Aaron, did you get that email? I've got every email since 1995, okay? Just stop with the tactics. So, made a little fake set, But my own little set of stairs. This came from a crusty little sketch in my field notes. When I went to Italy for 3 years in a row, 2004, 5, and 6, we saw these incredible stairs, and I made Martino stop. What was that? And he looked over and he goes, those are kind of like peasant stairs. Less material, rebar, and just absolutely stunning. Like, just break your ass on that thing, right? Aaron Draplin with a bunch of groceries or something hauling up and down that thing. But that defies time and space and safety protocol and whatever else somewhere here in northern Italy. But I would take these photos and I'd say, someday, if I ever get to make a set of stairs, I'll just take those same principles and really think about that small little footprint and not this big goopy thing with ornate wrought iron. No, just stairs. And that was 3 or 4 boards, no waste. So this is what's been interesting me in the last 5 and 6 years of my little life. Here's the guy who built my shop, my buddy Robbie, right? And that's Robbie Hottoys. He's an old snowboard friend I met in 1993, right when I moved out there, and he lived on our couch for a winter, cut down on cost that winter, 93, 94. Robbie's a dad and a builder, and he built my shop, right? And of course, he's a Sabbath fan like I am, Black Sabbath fan, and I made him his own sticker, see? Robbie Hottoys, builder, right down to that little fake Vertigo logo, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about, So, to use design for your friends who are building your shop, who are building your life, the best. But of course, one comment killed the whole, I made a logo, I had this campaign, I'm working in my backyard, and one comment killed the logo. I made this cool logo, and I wanted to show the energy, and some kid just said, butthole house. And I just can't unsee, I can't unhear that one, you know. Good, clean fun, so, you know, so much for the energy, but moving right along. More going junkin'. You can do it here. There's records you can check out here. How cool is this place? But more going junkin' and just looking at things that are random and surprise me, and what can you learn from these moves that sometimes are long gone to technology and time and so on, this kind of stuff. Now I have to be very careful. I don't want to go back to 1965 where people's rights were screwed with or whatever. No. Because listen, grad students love to tie me into that. No. We mine the good things, and hopefully not since November 5th, we iron out the bad things, right? But design-wise, what are these moves you can learn from limitations? 1 color, 2 color, things that go on to tough, porous substrate and stuff. Well, there's lessons there. So I want to savor those things. I collect those things. I rebuild them. I share them. I try to exhibit that stuff in my own work. That reflector lamp, that's all it needs to be. But, go to Home Depot and look at what it looks like, the competitive nature of that stuff. It's the Microsoft versus Apple. Well, you know which one took off. I understand. But it used to be like that when I was 7 in 1982. It's interesting, right? So to see something, a little Duplo or whatever, but that incredible little butterfly, that's the most beautiful thing I've seen in years. And I know it's overlooked, it's just one little color, but the moves are worth savoring. So I would take these things and rebuild them and learn from them and talk a little bit about that and say, when you're out junking, look at the Duplo shit or whatever, right? Because to go look at these things and not forget about where we come from, you gotta be really careful with that stuff. Savor the incredible, clever moves by the folks who are long forgotten. Before computers, before a million typefaces, before every color, everything, every whatever. My dad taught me that. A master Polish junker, Jim Draplin, used to say, I just want one of everything. What's the big deal, right? Jim Draplin. But that's where I get this from. So, to see something that's inspiring, I'd make it was right here, this little guy. That blast of color right there, this crusty old color wheel, just stunning to me because it just filled with life and exuberance, and there's some little buzz I get out of that thing. So I've been trying to inject more color in my work. And it's just selfishly for just me, right? It's not I made some merch, but this just has a certain unironic positivity to it. What I like about making things like this is it's not for 51-year-old cynics or hipsters who come and make fun of me at the merch or whatever. No, this could be for little kids might like this stuff, like 8-year-olds and stuff. And that's a really fun place of play. But to apply it to some of my designs over the years, there's no brief, there's no money involved in this stuff. It's just to push myself somewhere new, And I forget about this. So I'm always trying to learn new things, right? Whatever that means, but more color as a lesson for myself. As I slow down, I know what I need to do to make a living, but how do you make time to make some new territory for yourself? It's hard to do, right? So more and more, I like to make things that delight just myself, or maybe a couple other human beings, because the idea is it's just fun. And I know it's not the coolest thing. And then what have they got in Portland, Oregon? Some Sasquatch on a unicycle on fire with if I read one more bio, someone trying to find the perfect craft beer, I'll kill somebody. Is there anything more insufferable? If I'm offending people, take it hard, okay? But those little flutes of beer, and you go, here's the dark one. That tastes great. I don't even drink. It's too much work. You gotta lift it, you gotta hold it, you gotta, whatever. You gotta blow into the thing to start the car, all that shit. I just, what am I talking about? So, more and more mom time. Now, tonight we are pinched for time. My mom was gonna do a 20-minute interpretive dance called Spring is Pending, but she's not gonna do it tonight, so we're just gonna keep moving. But there's my mom, and if you met her in the back with her little dog, and that dog smells like if you left some kind of carp out in the sun for about 2 weeks, in the hot Michigan sun, little Minnie. But my mom knows now when I get home, she takes her to the little doggy cleaner, so she only smells like a little minnow. But that's little Minnie. So this is before we cleaned out my mom's garage these last series of summers, because I'm back there to help. Let's see. See, now we have a friend here. So when you go to Omaha and you tell lies, you just water off a duck's ass, right? But here we have people who know what an animal I am, pretty much. And they knew my dad. And this is what it looked like. We used to joke, there's going to be a headline in the Record Eagle of Traverse City, Area Man dies because junk avalanche. It was like 1 cubic Jim Draplin to get into that cockpit, right? He spent, his therapy time down there, he would call it, right? So my job was to clean it out. And you're crying, and it's cathartic, and what the fuck's he got a bucket full of old key tags for? But that's, who knows? And I'm unearthing just garbage after thing. Some things I kept for myself selfishly. Other things might be sold at the garage sale. Other things just keep the direction going out. Well, that was my job. And when I look back at my life and I say, yeah, this was a tough 3 or 4 days. But I think about just making, maybe a little easier for using my design, not for a paycheck, but no, to help my mom have a garage sale, right? Or my buddy who brought all his Star Wars shit out. And that's just, listen, there is no brief. I like old Star Wars like everybody else does. And he came and brought his stuff and sold it. And we made a fun little graphic. And when people say things like, if I can't get a client and I can't have any work to show, well, then just make yard sale graphics for your parents when they need help. That applies also. So that area, that line has never been gray for me. That's just been like, I use what I know how to do for everything around me, right? Now, in this process of getting a tent, all the shit coming out, I had to paint some signs because we had a free day. And there was just something so fun about painting because it's random and I'm not in control. And it's not a click and a thing and a seminar and a whatever, like by the book and the software. So, what are we going to do with all this stuff? And when we were working, I was terrified of the end because we had a free day and there's no way it's all going to go. So what am I going to do? Well, women's resource centers. St. Vincent de Paul, Goodwill, things like that, or maybe just the dump. What do you do with this stuff after a while, right? Well, a family of scrappers came from heaven, I think, and they cleaned that place, picked it clean. I mean, what are they going to do with half cans of paint that my dad stole from a Sears outlet center somewhere near Dearborn back in '77? He had that stuff. They took it all. I just kind of cried my eyes out like, whew. Because job number one is to help my mom. So that's been a project of mine, not making logos and making things and making stuff. It applies somewhere in there with yard sale things or whatever. But more time with my mom, right? Which leads me to painting dumb hands, because we would get done with these long days and we'd put mom down to bed at about 6:30 with a glass of warm milk, and she'd go to bed like she does, and then I would stay up all night painting stupid hands. Because I got Dad's Menards paint going and just junk, and it's fun. I can feel him in me, around me, in this little empty space when I go there. I don't know what that means, but this way, that way, just a little bit of language, sorry, but, weird things, I don't even know, but fun. And I want more of this in my life, because what comes out of this is people would see this on my Instagram and say, hey, whoa, where do I get the sticker? So we made these little stickers that just point all kinds of ways, but we called them the Pointer Brothers, right? And we made some merch comes out of this thing, and now you can point it up, you can point it down, you can point them at each other, whatever. So little things kind of reveal themselves out of this stuff, but it came only from a place of play, and that's a fun thing to experiment with. More time with my little smoochy Lee, right? Look at her, little, there's Lee. She's not here to defend herself, okay? She's up in Traverse City, I don't know, evolving, reading something really smart off a nice book list. Probably she's been into Bob Dylan a bunch lately on that kick. I don't do biopics, sorry. okay? The crowds are always fake. I don't do it. She went and saw it, I think, twice. She loved it with the Chalamet kid. Okay, but I used my design to help Lee make little graphics for her, or her little products that she makes. You saw some on the table tonight, you know? So load up on some of that stuff, because tomorrow night she's selling stuff at a pop-up in Traverse City, right? Sees me do it, and of course, her boyfriend helps her bake this stuff, right? So she makes her own little things, Stay Nasty, and that's one of her fun patches, Bite Me, you know, Tough as Snails. And, you know, we talk about getting free all the time, because I've gotten ahead, and that wasn't the plan. I mean, my God, this is where the top brass just say, get him off the stage with a face like that. That's disgusting. But, you know, what a lucky girl she is to have hit the jackpot, you know, like she has. But we talk about getting free. And what does that even mean? I've gotten ahead. I paid off debts, and I haven't had any debt since 2012, I think is what it is. I'm really proud of that, because that's not what I was prepared for. I was prepared to make a good living. At some point, you take care of your mom and dad and all that kind of stuff. But I got ahead, and it's allowed me to pad things. But if you look around you, I try to help my little sisters, my girl. But I'm way more ahead than the rest of them. So we're equalizing some of those things, and we've been chipping stuff off, because why do any of it anyway, right? I want her to be free, you know? And then she can go get a good-looking boyfriend. We'll see. But I've been working on that, right? It's a process, right? Okay, speaking of process, here's some rock and roll process. I'm gonna go quick. My favorite band from high school is a band called Dinosaur Jr., and you sketch them for the poster, you go into the little fresco on your iPad, and then you go into Illustrator and you make the poster for their 2000 fall tour, and it turns out so awesome. And this is my favorite band since I was 16 or 17 years old, 18 years old. Look at Murph, you know, playing, you can't see it, he's playing the bushels. You can see it down there, but look at Murph, you know, something's going on with the aspect here. But anyway, you guys have heard of Jack White. We've heard of Jack White, and I got to make a couple posters for those guys for Third Man now, but it starts with a sketch. He's in Maine, Portland, Maine. No one wants to do the Portland, Maine poster. I'll do it, you know. I love that stuff. I'm not a poster designer, right? There are poster designers. You know how I know that? Because they tell me. What are you doing here, Aaron, at South by Southwest? I'm here to take money out of your pocket. You know, things like that. You know, it's real territorial, but I'm gentle. But I got to make a poster for Jack White, right? I also got to make a look at that. I also got to make a poster for Jack Black, right? A couple of those, and they've been through a tough fall, you know, saying what we all thought. But you know, sketching, and you listen to the band. We want to be bottomless on the bell, okay? All right. I am a servant. I am a divining rod. Strap me around your waist, Jack Black, and I'll get you to the solution. I mean, there it is. So, you know, I'm sorry about the, you know, it's a good thing that it's getting cut off, but how cool to work for Tenacious D, right? You know, and they took good care of me, and that's cool. Because I'm having middle-age jitters. At 51, am I allowed to make rock posters for 21-year-olds, or whatever you want to call it? I don't know. So a buddy of mine comes to me from Knoxville, James Spears. He says, we're going to jump on a Zoom call, because about 4 years ago, I got right with the band. And what I mean by that is, when I was a kid in the 90s, I loved the Jesus Lizard, the Flaming Lips, Red House Painters, Sebadoh, Dinosaur Jr.'s, Swerve Driver, indie things, hard to get to, Archers of Loaf, Polvo, things like this, college bands, whatever. But when something was on MTV, it was a little too slick for me, or that they were too pretty for me, and I'd glaze over it. Not a Surf. They were on MTV first. What an incredible band, but I kind of wrote them off. Because the average thing that gets there, you know, Goo Goo Dolls, maybe it's not for me. Well, there was a band called Super Drag. And my buddy says, hey, these guys are getting back together. They're in my hometown of Knoxville. I pitched you to them. Would you want to do a poster for when they do a reunion show in Knoxville? Because I went and bought all of it one night in 2021 or something. All of it. This band called the Lees of Memory, because that's the stuff they were doing after Super Drag. If you guys know the one hit, Sucked Out. We remember that because it's on the greatest hits of the 90s, next to all those alternative things, right? Right next to the big hit from Foo Fighters or any of this stuff. They hit it big. They were on MTV for a couple big videos. But after 2 years, if you don't hit it big the next time, you start owing money. And after the third time, they have to disband because they can't afford tour buses and advances, and that's a rock and roll story, as common as all this, but how would I know about these things? That's what happened to this band. Well, they continue to make records. They continue to make things, and when you go listen to these guys, it is beautiful. So I get to go down to, Knoxville, fly myself down there, and see the band do their reunion thing. And if I'm 50 at this, 49 at this time, these guys are 40, 55, 53, Brandon's 51, John is a little younger, John Davis. And I get to meet him and kind of apologize and say, I should have listened to you. I love your records, and I own all of it. We know. Draplin, we've heard this story for years. That's the bite of MTV. But I got to meet him, and I got to work for them. And then, a couple years later, a year later, the dust settles, and I start getting, John's a buddy now, John Davis, incredibly talented guy, family man, and partner to a wonderful guy. But he starts sending me these sketches of new songs. And I get to see the creation of this next thing that I'm gonna buy. And then he says, hey, you wanna design my record? And it's like, of course. And I don't care if there's a cent involved. So I get right down to work because my favorite thing to do when I'm lucky to do it is a record. But I'm not a record designer, and I know how because they write me and say, well, I noticed, because there's just clicks of this stuff. So we talk a little bit, and I start some comps, and I just do a colorful thing with lots of color, and it's kind of psychedelic. And in the nicest way, he kind of says, I just don't know, Draplin, but I'm so excited to help out in any way. I just start going probably a little too fast, too excited, too fast, right? But he's sweet about it. He's a Southern gentleman, right? Knoxville, Tennessee. So I keep going, but before I go and put a bunch of time into it, I just do these quick sketches, and I go, well, if this album really is about turmoil, he went through a divorce during this album 3-4 years ago before he made it. And I start showing him, molten lava and the crust and things on fire and turmoil, right? And, scary stuff. But I wonder if I'm just making it harder for him to pick because I'm just barraging him with weirder and weirder things. Like, me just kind of say, okay, we're gonna hide you, and you do this, and we're gonna hide you and some stuff. Like, that's pretty fun, but he just wasn't feeling it, Now remember, that's just a quick comp. When it was time to go, I'd really get in there and clean that thing up, and or if he liked that, I'd make the likeness just like him. So I go all in on a collage because he's just not feeling these things. He's not used to someone saying, I'll keep going and going because I love you. That's not the rock and roll way or the rock and roll world. You get a couple comps and you're stuck with it. I go in on this collage and I start just tearing stuff out of, National Geographics and some Life magazines and shit. I go to this, dying bookstore and grab a bunch of stuff, and I have a bunch of that stuff in my own collection. But he likes the isolation of the guy falling, which of course leads to this. I just quickly throw it over some molten lava. I scanned off some card from 1926. Come on, I want to lay a summer volcano down in Hawaii, somewhere in the islands down there. And John sees it and says, that's it. I'll take it. So of course, bingo. And we freak out and I make the vinyl and we make the inside cover and the lyrics and the band guys and the back cover. And then of course the CD. They even did tapes. So cool. And the coolest part about this, I got to listen to that record all last summer. I've listened to it over 200 times. It's 30 minutes. It's kind of an SST style, like Minutemen kind of songs or something. Please go check this out because it's a lesson. John's 50 now. I'm 51. Is a 50-year-old allowed to make vital, awesome rock and roll records? They are. And as one to be able to design it, I need these things in my life. So when this happens, you have to savor this stuff. Because remember those collages he wasn't feeling? Those turned into the 4 singles that sort of would push this stuff out to tease people for about the first 4 weeks. And then the record comes out, and it's just so cool. And just thank you, John Davis. What a sweet, talented guy. I love the records. And just look at the size of my head to his, just on a sort of scientific level, on a sort of a anthropological study. Anyway, More little memo books, always. If you guys know about field notes, I made them in 2004, and then Jim Kudal swooped in as an adult and turned it into a real company. And yet, I'm always going rogue, and it did Dead Prints in 2016, and then, of course, the Deader in 2019, and then we did those Deadest a couple years ago, and they turned out awesome. And that's what it looks like when I take all those dead prints of things that are damaged, things that are coffee spilled on them, or just stuff we can't move down to go fashion them into little field notes. And I made fun of it. I got my hand, and Lee, it's too cold out, and Lee doesn't want to deal with it. And I put the fake smoke over it as if this thing was coming out of the earth. And, that's some of my best writing. Shuffled off this mortal foil, because, it's got the little foil print on the cover, right? So, to be able to recycle stuff. Because when I do these things, I think about time and space and opportunity, and I better get all the weird things out of my head while I can, because we're a business. You can chart the basic things that you guys have been ravaging tonight. Thank you so much. You'll see color, you'll see lines, you'll see graph paper, you'll see very conservative, lots of white, birds, things, different stories, and then I just come flying in and go ape shit and repurpose these things and make them fun. There's one last set over there, but I keep a little shoebox always just in case, because we sold all these things. And see, that's the sheet that it goes on. So the little print, that's the belly band, that's right there. This is a freebie that comes with all your orders. There's just a little business card, Draplin Design Company. Here's one of those hands from painting up moms. But the other side, of course, that's the pink, the purple and the fluorescent orange. And the way you do that is you just kind of pull it out of a hat. I would never pick purple, but I'm letting the universe guide the way that I design these things, because, it gets pretty calculated when you are doing something like this, right? Made 7,000, moved 5,700 in about a weekend and a half, and that's crazy. I just keep a chunk set aside hidden, because if anyone knows if we have any field nuts here, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I can smell you a mile away. I know. I can see you glowing right now. Okay, are you part of the fountain pen mafia? Because if you are, it's time to go. I'm just kidding. Okay, these guys. Aaron, what's the pH factor on that? I don't know. I don't care. Just use a pencil. Just relax. Okay. But if you ever notice when Aaron Draplin finds a palette, it's because I stash these things away, let the frenzy take over, and then bring them out for the kids who write me and say, I was in a coma when it came out. Okay, let me send you a couple. New visions. I can't even see you guys. The first 5 rows, the splash zone where all the hair and spit and dander and shit goes flying, sorry. But I've been having, what copy of that Sgt. Pepper's do I have? I couldn't read it. Is it 67? There was an 87 repress, and is it an 87, 1987? I can't tell, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and then I'm realizing I'm 47 years old, and I need glasses, and I had to go in and get glasses, and, hence this, God damn it. What happens when, do you have any questions, Aaron? What happens when a muskox sits on these 285, these stupid questions like that? Well, they break. Yeah, I know, I did. But I got some glasses a couple summers ago. To make this thing, I'm not how you're not a typeface designer? When you have a good typeface, because they all come after you. I had a guy at a type conference in Portland, and we're there with all the merch, and he comes up to me and he goes, well, this is great, Aaron Draplin, no, Draplin. He goes, well, what is all this? And I go, well, sir, I know where this guy, big name in type, he's working on the 17th cut of Garamond Forgettable, or whatever it is. Like, who cares about this shit? Just whatever, And that's going to be his life's work, and he doesn't understand who is this, and, he's going to die any day, and he comes and goes, what is this? And I say, well, this is a piece of wall art, maybe, a tapestry. You can make yourself there's posters. I go, those are posters. They're flat. You put them on a wall. I'm being a jerk. And he goes, but Aaron, you're not a typographer. I go, no, I'm profitable. Guess who didn't get invited back? Yeah. And then I got invited back last summer, and he wasn't there. Maybe he died. I don't know. But anyone who's got a typeface, just make it. But be careful, because if it hits, this one kind of hit. You know, this is just something so simple and geometrically kind of dumb. Why don't we have this? We used to have these things on hardware stores. That's why I called it hardware. That's it. And now when you see it on beer, sports teams, the Dodgers, but I have proper people to help me with the licensing and all that kind of stuff, but we had some scary ones get away from us. Or somewhere in Lithuania, trying to drum up people to fight Russia, I think. Well, there it was, that's of interest, but no license, but I'm not really gonna go and mess with that, Aaron Draplin travels to, Latvia or some shit, I don't know. But stuff like this, and the kid calls me and says, hey man, can I use this for this mural? I got you, man, go. If you guys are gonna use it for your buddy's band, cool. But if you work for Budweiser, you need to have a chat with us, okay? So that's just But look at this little scooper right here. I tried to watch Stranger Things. Unwatchable, okay? I lived in the 80s, okay? But if you didn't, I get it. It's cute, and there's bikes, and there's little things. Video games and shit, fine. But look at that hardware underneath the little scooper, right? I mean, that's just cool to see this stuff. But speaking of scooping, back to the Middle Age, mining, a couple years ago, a buddy says to me, he goes, how is it being 50, man? I go, well, I don't know. It's weird. How is it being 57? And he's like, I'm growing things. So you're growing things? And he goes, I've been giving off a lot of dander. He goes, when was the last time you cleaned your keyboard? What are you talking about? So I go home, and I have one of those magic keyboards. I have it kind of 3M glue thing, double back, so it doesn't move around. I clean it every now and again, get all the hair and fur and dander, but I go to work scooping out of this thing, and that's the first pile. And there's things you can eat out of that pile. You can live off that pile. But look at the hair, the DNA, the dander. Where does this shit come from? And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but, go clean out your keyboards, okay? Get up to speed, middle-aged people. Just the youngsters, enjoy it, okay? We've been going to the desert more and more and more, to the middle of nowhere, Joshua trees and 29 palms and all that beautiful, desolate stuff out there. We have a friend who has a place we go rent in Palm Springs. Whew, so cool. And we go there, we go to the big rocks, but look at my buddy's hips, it's so cool. It's so cool. So you can go rent this off Airbnb. You should see Aaron Draplin in that hot tub. It's like a you want to go to SeaWorld with Sham? Lee has the herrings, But I'm in there digging around, and I almost died when I opened this little skull because it had this. These things are crawling around. They're kind of like a bee, kind of like a June bug, kind of like one time in Dad's garage, he had some kind of ornery-looking something snake. It wasn't poisonous. It was just some humpback boas. I don't even know what it was. It was some kind of snake. And, Dad and I went to, got it out of there, a family effort. But as a little boy, all the way back to Central Lake, Michigan, I was fascinated by tarantulas. I've never held one. I mean, I look at them every now and again. We go to these malls or something, or some, animal store, or whatever, reptiles and shit. But that's living out there. So I'm always, what are the bylaws if some 800-pound gorilla just hits one of these things? What are there laws for that kind of stuff? How much meat can you get out of these things? Basic things like that. And we go gambling just to go tempt. And I'm going to tell you right now, all bullshit aside, if you hit that 34 with $30 on it, you can get a new tooth. You can get a new, depending. But that all time and space comes together. My mom and dad taught me, you watch every penny. You buy nothing you can't afford. Careful with the credit, checks and minuses, blah, blah, blah. And I go ape shit once or twice a year. And then some guy from the Philippines and I were making out and kissing and hugging and screaming because he hit that shit too. And Lee got the photo and we got in trouble and all that. Anyway. But yeah, working on my athletics in the back, in the water there. They're just a little clean fun. So sorry. But, breaching, the herring, remember, disgusting. But there's Lee and I in the desert somewhere, and we've been going a lot. We've been going twice a year. My favorite project from the last 5 years, I got to make a stamp for America. Now, this stamp was for my late Uncle Tom, who didn't vote like me. But you know what's cool about this is he needed a stamp too, probably to send some donation to some horrific, thing that fucks with women's rights or something. I don't know what his initiatives were, but anyway, he needs a stamp for that too. But for the record, when I got to make an American patriotic workhorse stamp, this is dedicated to immigrants. Because my dad told me we're a nation of immigrants. And people come here and they go, and our people came here from Poland. Aaron, they came from Poland in 1898, and a year later into Detroit, they cut our tails off. Oh, yeah, these are family lore. You get to do a stamp. That's a true democratization of graphic design, because everyone here needs a stamp. Bernie Sanders used these to send back the corporate donations. That Bernie, only from small donors, individuals. That Bernie. That was policy. That's the stamp they used. My buddy worked there. Going down to my local post office, and they knew, making friends, and, saying, I got to realize my graphic design dream. I mean, come on. And yelling in there and clapping and shit. I mean, that's one of my dreams, to make a stamp for America. I'm a stamp collector, right? My favorite project of last year, if you guys, do we have any country music fans here? Okay, now I'm not one of those country music fans who, the Luke Bryants and that Zach dipshit who just took a picture with Trump, hey, complicit. Dead to me, but oh yeah, the comedians and all that stuff. Yeah. What are the famous tropes of country music? Pickup trucks, getting wild on the weekend, girl got away, girl whatever. Daddy's hands is a big one. Daddy's hands, all that shit. Enough. When Chris Stapleton's camp comes to me and says, "You want to make a logo for Chris Stapleton?" I knew his record from my record store. That doesn't mean anything. We don't have Rascal Flats on our wall at my record store. That shit's unlistenable. We don't have, I don't know, what's the next worst thing? I don't even know. Just, what I mean, Hollywood, Nashville, none of that shit. I didn't know that he was that kind of a Chris Stapleton. I make the logo, it's fun, try to sell myself out of it. I don't know if I'm the right guy. You guys might be too big. Next thing you know, it's on 9 semis. The Foo Fighters have 19 semis or 18 semis. Chris had 11 at whatever point a couple years ago. It's getting too big, way too fast. I'm making 7-inch records for him. I got to do his ad mat. That turned into all the ad mats a couple years ago when they would come through Detroit or Chicago or all the stuff. I stared him down in the backstage many a time, having a bit of a client meeting. He smells so good. He's so soft, really. Smells so sweet. Smells of sage. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then I got to make a record for him. And that is a grand honor. How many records will he make? His hero, Tom Petty, made about 20. He's up to 5, right? It's an improbable thing. But, all the parts and pieces that go to that thing, that's me and a team, and we had it done in a month. But then it hits Nashville in reformats, to CD, to things, stuff made in the UK, and it gets away from us. The brown started to change. It's hard to make brown on press. But, that's where I jump in as a good little citizen to make sure that this thing is just carried through, and the black point is perfectly this part, and the white point on this part. That's my eye helping with the proofs. They have a lot of other stuff to worry about. But, all the singles that we made, Chris released 7 or 8 official singles all the way up to the release of that thing. That's what happens when you're a Chris Stapleton. It's a part of a mechanism, right? My friends wouldn't be on the 405 in LA. My buddy sent me this. In my record store, he made the cut when that record came out because he's listenable and he's authentic and he's not playing by, I don't know. There's always some, those bands have a token banjo player in there, just bing, bing, give me a break. Well, they don't need a banjo player, Cool, it's cool. To put that in my record wall, it was a bit of an emotional moment, because when I got that job, I was pretty clear, just please tell me he's good to the roadies. Because I don't care how much he makes. I know it's a lot, but is he good to the roadies? Aaron, he's good to us. He's good to his management team. He's good to his wife and his children. Oh, it's incredible. I'll work with this guy the rest of my life. Okay, I'm in. So to do this, and all the things that have come subsequently, it's been a real honor, and he's a sweet guy. The weight of the world on his shoulders, and remembers me and remembers Lee, and, pretty cool. And we go as far backstage, and I don't even drink, and I had a bunch of drinks that night and ate everything that wasn't nailed down because those are the perks of the big time. Oh, sorry. Okay, tattoos. My contractor tattooed that on his leg, pulled up his leg. What are you doing? And, that's my, perfect Portland, little graphic, Mount Hood. When you work for Jerry Garcia years ago, I make a poster. This thing gets murdered down and starts showing up on, I don't even know where that's at. I don't even know where that is on someone. But I don't even know where that is. Maybe the back, top of a leg, I don't know. But it gets away from you, Or this little thing I went to Birmingham, England to go speak at a big design conference there. And the next thing you know, it's not all the kids got it, and then some guy tattooed it on his leg. I just like to show this because that shit's not supposed to happen. But this is what starts to happen when you start getting your stuff out there. The book. When I signed my book deal in New York City, they told me, based on who you are and your face and height and weight and all that, your problems and whatever, your musk, you'll probably sell, 4,500, I think that was what the word was. And I didn't care to hear that. I was like, if I can make 400, and my mom gets one, and my dad was already gone, but I can have enough to go sell on the road, that's a success to me. You'll hit 4,500, kid. All right. So we took that thing on the tour. That's the gas pig. Okay, there's Lee and I, and somewhere in the desert. We went out across America 3 different times. No permission from Abrams Books, just I funded the whole thing, booked every show, sometimes screwed up and didn't quite get a hotel. That's a fun night. One night, Lee looked at me in the food oasis that is Late Night Nebraska and said, "I'm not eating out of a bag tonight, asshole." That was fun, because, there's nothing to eat in the middle of, there's a place called Pizza Ranch. Any Pizza Ranch fans here? We didn't go, but it's the Pizza Ranch. I don't know what it is, some kind of all-you-can-eat thing, I don't know. But places like that, we'd be in the back on the road on these book tours, selling books, doing all these things like tonight. But the next morning, shipping all the merch from the road. That's what it looked like. Fighting about this has to go here, dropping it off in some post office, and then getting back on the road. We did that for 3 tours, 100 shows, Lee and I. And that's how we built the following for that book. All over America. To this, to like tonight. Making friends everywhere, testing out new ways of selfies, just really man on man, just getting in there and becoming friends with all the colleagues. Just disgusting. Like the noses don't even go tip to tip. That's weird, but that's okay because I'm open to that, and if it helps sell a book, let's keep it moving. But this makes sense because there was a certain intimacy in my family. When I would say goodbye to my father, this was actually south of here in Ann Arbor. My sister worked at the VA here for 10, 12 years. And she had a townhouse south of Ann Arbor. We'd stay there. And when I would say goodbye to my dad and head west to Chicago to Field Notes for a night and then go west and stuff, I would say goodbye to my dad and get right in there and just give him a good. By the way, just so you guys know, this is the fun part in Nebraska. This is where Margie the marketer's going. We are a micron apart. And mom's getting the shot, trying not to, laughing and, the milk coming out of her nose kind of thing. And dad, get the shot, get the shot, get the shot. And then, of course, we celebrate the big shot. But I had people who would write me, "That's weird, man. I'm unfollowing you. Who kisses their dad?" I said, "I'd clean his tonsils out as a service." Whatever. My favorite story from the book. Drew, true story. Polish-American night, 1983. 9.5-year-old Aaron Draplin. Got my mitt, Chain of Lakes, baseball, Central Lake. I was a third baseman, sometimes shortstop. I got my mitt. We go down with my Uncle Tom and my cousins who are cool and big to me. And we get there and Dad says, "Go get him a ball." And I remember my dad saying to me, "Don't worry, we're going to get you a ball tonight." He goes, "Okay, Patch and Mike, take him down to the fence where they're doing the fall balls, and you hang him over the thing, and he can catch one and get him a ball." So we go do that, and that just doesn't happen, And, you have to understand, here's my dad, mid-sip, all pissed off. They gave him 2 beers to piss him off at, Ford Field or something before he passed. But there he is, mid-sip, sipping some $14 Ford beer, whatever that is. But that's what my dad kind of looked like right before he passed. And then, of course, I remember him with his big beard and his stuff and him telling me, I'm going to get you a ball tonight, kid, don't worry. And what kind of dad tells their kid that stuff? I mean, what are the chances of that shit? And we go there, and it's Polish American night, and there's hot dogs and kielbasa dogs and popcorn and all this. And I remember I still had my ticket stub, and Dad, first inning, don't worry, he's getting drunk. The beer's cheap, and it's Polish American night. And I'm half Polish. I don't know what half, but Dad is full Polish, and we're there. And sixth inning, I got it. Don't worry. And the 8th or 9th inning, Ron Hasse from the Cleveland Indians, Lance Parrish is catching, bottom of the 9th, tips one off the top of third base, bounces one time. My dad dives and catches the ball. Beer flying, hot mustard all over his shirt, and he gets back up and puts it in my lap. And that's the shit I wanted to show in that book, because he fucking did it. And it's like, what am I going to talk about? I got to work for this and that and big and more. That's in the book, and that's my favorite story from the book, I have it, that's not supposed to happen, So the first printing and the second printing and all this shit, it's in its 13th printing. So what that even means is like, now it's the 4,500, that's blasted that a long time ago. It is 77,000 now or something. But that was never what we were interested in. It was about keeping it affordable. Giving it away that one time in Indianapolis at IU, I gave them all away one night because I was so pissed about how much I made one finger and they make 9 fingers at my publisher, That's just publishing, kid, whatever. I sold more than some of their cookbooks. That's the big earners. So to do that, I just want to thank each and every one of you who bought the book. Okay, we got a new DDC website. Go check it out. It's got everything. It took me 4 summers to do it. I showed every logo because that was a celebration of someone hiring me, trusting me, and I want to show every one of those moves. I had a kid last night say, why would you show every logo? Because I got to do it. If it's only for me, cool, but I have clients who say, thank you, man. That was a fun summer in 2008, remember? Yeah, and it's on there. Every poster's on there, every hat, patch. Tell the story of the watch and how we kept the price fair. It's on there. Some recent work, and we'll get you out of here. I got to do the new ad mat for Chris Stapleton. So you'll see this right now, and it's getting murdered across the land right now as it goes to all the different markets, and people tear apart the stuff, and I made them a whole system, and got to work for Chris again. Such a cool thing. You can see, a lot of beard going on, a lot of hair. I got to work for Pearl Jam, small band out of the Northwest, and that showed up on the T-shirt, and we went and saw them at Wrigley, and I turned around. We were so up front, because I worked for Jeff Ament. I worked for Jeff, the skateboard deck over there, that was made by Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, and I worked for his thing called Montana Pool Service, which makes skate parks for Native American kids across the West. I make graphics for that. So we have another version of that deck to help those Native American kids. I turned around, I saw that. That's Pearl Jam. It's terrifying. Orange posters, Mark Maron stuff, beer. My buddy Dean Del Rey is a comedian. He has a dog named Gertie. And I made a little merch for him. And, pizza boxes from my favorite pizza place called Sizzle Pie. I got to do the original logo. And there, just 2 days ago when I was coming back from Portland, Lee got the shot. They have a new airport. We have a new airport in Portland. And there's my eat pizza every day. By the way, it's only about once every 30 days. Blood sugar Bill up here having to watch some of this shit. Thing Festival every year up in Northern Washington. Stuff for fish. Not quite my jam, but good people, right? Okay. Hot dog mandalas, dice kits. You can throw away your whole career and just let the universe, what we call it the procrastidie. I'm tired of, now I want to get the project done. You just roll the procrastidie and ruin your whole life. We got them over for sale over there. This is for my little sister. and her nails that she does. He's an esthetician. A buddy's rock and roll record. We printed this at Third Man Records called Harshmellow. Stuff for a little thing called science-based company called NASA. Empirical data, and things like this, and basic reason in science. It's kind of look into it. They're fun. Stuff for Smith Goggles. Posters for Jason Isbell. This is the last two from Michigan last year. Got to do one for Interlochen, and Mom and I went and saw the show. Went all the way backstage. I kept telling Jason, "You could maybe be my new dad if things work out." Anyway, sweet guy. DDC Fuzz Pedal. Another poster for Tenacious D. And we want to make sure that we got Kyle going right. And then somewhere, there it is, holding the right little gold thing that he stole off the old whatever. Okay, DDC at South by Southwest. We've gone 2 or 3 times now. We might go this year. My favorite band in the world is Dinosaur Jr. There's me. Jay was smiling. We should go buy lottery tickets because that's a rare instance. And that's me pointing at him and saying, wow. And I got to do one of their latest T-shirts. Where's that at? I don't know. When they call you to do the cornfield, do the cornfield, okay? And there's Lee on the big chair and stuff. We got lost. I was writing a will while I was inside there because we were lost, and shit was great. Slowing down, enjoying the little things more, and enjoying the big things. So there's about 40 cars behind us where I was laying there trying to get the shot in the redwoods at one point, maybe a year and a half ago. Big things, too. You guys, it's been like this for a lot of years. I am ramping that shit down because that's not real life. The problem is, I know what it's like to be in these backstages with these people who don't quite know that their time is kind of doing this. And it's okay, it's called life. But they're mad at the Aaron Draplins, or they're mad at the next youngster who's before me. It's as natural as all this stuff. I had my run, and instead now, I'm gonna make it do this. And I'm gonna chart where I'm gonna be as creative on the way up as I am gonna be on the way down. I'm gonna document that shit too, because that's, yeah. So, all right, you guys, buy some merch. You already did over there. I don't know where it's at in the merch pit. Thank you for coming. Special thanks to Emily for all this, making this one happen. Okay, thanks, you guys. This one is for my dad, all right? He is dead as it gets. But we're saving a lot on groceries. But really, this is for my mom. And here she is, getting her ass kicked in Scrabble. The tide has turned, and I'm up. I'm up. So this one's from my, come meet my mom, you guys. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everybody. So I think in the interest of getting everybody their merch and their moment of Draplin magic, the other kind of Draplin magic, but okay, I would say I'm going to escort Aaron to the merch table, and we can meet over there.
Any Q&A or no time?
I think we don't have
time. Okay. If you have any questions, it's problems@draplin.com. That's the email. Complaints@draplin.com. I'm not going to answer you at draplin.com. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.